Okay, we're going to bring this agenda and priorities meeting to order. It's 3 p.m. on June the 16th, and I'll ask Councillor Dunham to please read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. The town of Innisfail acknowledges that we are meeting on Treaty 7 territory, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kainai, Piikani, and Siksika, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and Stoney Nakoda First Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation Alberta, Region 3, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Dunham. And before we get started today, I just want to, on behalf of everyone, of course, sincere condolences to Councillor Heistad and his family. Councillor Heistad's grandfather passed away early this morning, and certainly they are in our thoughts. And Councillor Heistad was going to chair the meeting today, but we will catch him another day. But we're certainly thinking about them. So we'll move into 2.1, any additions or deletions to the agenda. Could I please have someone make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, please? Councillor Dunham.
Mayor Barclay, I'll make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thanks. And we'll move into 3.1 with Director Jenkins on the Aquatic Centre project.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Barclay. So this will be the first of many regular updates that we'll provide to Council throughout the modernization project. As Council is well aware, the Aquatic Centre is scheduled to close on July 7th, and the spray park will be remaining open throughout the summer season. Attached to the report are the current working drawings for the interior layouts and the exterior. In terms of funding, we don't have any updates on grants that have been applied for in terms of results. We are working on an active communities grant with the Kinsman Club that needs to go in by the end of this month. The formal request has been submitted to Red Deer County, and we'll provide those updates as they become available. As we approach the final week of programming at the Aquatic Centre, there will be daily toonie swims as well as a free barbecue for public swim attendees on Sunday, July 6th from 3 to 6 p.m. The triathlon that had been scheduled for July 5th has been rescheduled to September 2026. We do anticipate construction activity starting immediately the morning of July 7th. Yeah, and if there's any questions, I'll take those. Otherwise, plan to do these probably once a month at least as we move through the project.
Okay, thank you, Director Jenkins. Does anyone have any questions? Not yet. Okay, we'll just have a motion then to accept the report as information, please. Councillor Messaros.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I'd like to move that Council accepts this report for information.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, carried. And then we'll move on to 3.2, Town of Nanton seconder motion with Director Vickers.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Barclay. So the Town of Nanton has reached out to the Town of Innisfail to be a seconder on an Alberta municipality's motion that they'd like to bring forward to the conference later in November this year. So they are requesting support from Innisfail to second the motion, the resolution. It was missed in the package, so it has been printed out and handed out to everyone here. They reached out to the AB Munis, some member, and they did direct them to come reach out to Innisfail because their draft resolution does resemble our resolution from 2024, which was defeated last year at the fall conventions. So Nanton's funding for sport and recreation facilities resolution is asking AB Munis to advocate to the government to either amend the Active Communities Initiative to make municipalities eligible for the program, or to create a new funding program that municipalities are eligible for. So administration is looking for council to consider supporting the Town of Nanton's resolution and provide any feedback on any adjustments council would like. Administration will provide a council report at the June 23rd regular council meeting requesting a motion to act as a seconder to Nanton's draft resolution. As a seconder, council can provide feedback and recommend changes on the wording of the resolution. So the deadline to submit this for the conference is June 30th. And the motion is there, so that council second the motion made by the town of Nanton regarding recreation infrastructure funding, whereas Alberta municipalities advocate to the government of Alberta to either, one, amend the Active Communities Initiative to make municipalities eligible for application, or two, create a new annual or biannual funding program for municipalities that enables them to effectively leverage their available capital reserves and local partnerships for new and existing recreation infrastructure for the benefit of their communities. So,
Okay.
take any comments?
Sure. Thank you, Director Vickers. Could I please have someone make the recommended motion?
I'll make the recommended motion. I don't think I need to read the whole thing, do
Well,
I?
it's just the first part is the recommended motion. We'll have the,
Oh, right, sorry. I move the council accept this report as information and bring the following motion to the next regular council meeting on June 23rd, 2025.
okay, perfect. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, maybe, Councillor Wing?
Well, it's just a comment. I mean, I certainly would never, ever say that I didn't think that we needed to have more funding available for recreation facilities. I would like to see more specific funds devoted to small to mid-sized communities. This looks like an opportunity for the big cities to swoop in and take money again, unless they're very, very firm on the fact that this is to protect the assets that are in smaller communities. Our motion wasn't, I think our motion, had it not been defeated, would have provided some information to this kind of a funding program to say these are the facilities in the province that need to be funded. But that said, I think as we move towards getting this firmed up for an actual motion, I would just like to ask that we consider putting some conditions around the size of communities that this program would serve.
Yeah, I just respond to that from maybe the Alberta Munis perspective, that I know that they probably don't like motions that aren't really for all of the membership. I know we kind of went through that when we crafting our motion last year, that and they've, quite often clear about that at our conventions, that bring motions forward that are for the whole membership. And I understand totally what you're saying. I think that's why we're kind of in this boat to begin with, because the money isn't coming to mid-sized towns and stuff, but I don't know that we could put that in there. We can ask Director Vickers to maybe reach out to Nanton with that question, and they can go back to Alberta Munis and see what their response is. Anybody else have any questions? I know we haven't had a lot of time to read it because we just got it, but maybe even next week we can go through it a little bit deeper and bring it back with feedback. But those are good points, Councillor Wing, because we are the ones in the deficit. So, Councillor Bates.
Well, I think I appreciate your thoughts that, yes, I think that could be a hang-up if it was, but certainly the opportunity is there for somebody to have dialogue right at the, as to who is experiencing shortages. That could be dialogue, even though the motion, to help support it.
Yeah, by that time, so I guess it'll be November, that, there'll be lots of, I think, information out of Innisfail with our modernization project and how that's gone the last 6-7 years and increased costs. So, yeah, we're certainly happy to support them in moving this forward, considering we didn't make it last year. So.
And Mayor Barclay, just that AB Munis, their comments might be that the resolutions must address a topic of concern affecting municipalities on a regional or provincial level. So they may likely not encourage us to submit a resolution that's kind of earmarked for one type of municipality.
Yeah, kind of went through that last year, like crafting ours, that along those lines. So, okay, Councillor Messaros.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Just to contribute to that conversation, the 5th clause does have some language around small and medium-sized municipalities. So if this is something that we want to be aware of or be cautious of in some way, then maybe Also, administration could point that out to Nanton.
Yeah, I think just the process, like Nanton would send us into Alberta Munis, and then they have to approve. the
Right, but we were
resolutions.
asking our administration to ask Nanton about that language, so, yeah. So just pointing it out here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I haven't even read it because I just got it. Okay. Okay, so we have a motion, all in favor? Okay, carried, so we can bring that back next week and have a little more thorough discussion on that. All right, we'll move into 3.3 and the first quarter financials.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Barclay. So each year, administration prepares and presents our quarterly financial statements for council's review and approval. So we are currently presenting the results for the first quarter in 2025. This does cover the period of January 1st to March 31st. We have reviewed all the financial information in detail and have compared the results to the a budget that was approved on December 9th, 2024. And based on our internal review, we do confirm that the financial statements attached herein do provide a fair and accurate representation of the town's financial position as of March 31st, 2025. And we'll just get into some of the details. So first we'll start revenue. So we are seeing 12% of budget revenue compared to that 25% measurable for the first quarter. Upon reviewing 2024, this is 2% less than we saw at that time, but normally we are sitting anywhere from that 10 to 15% in that first quarter. Some of the revenues to note, our business licenses, we always collect almost the majority of our business licenses at the beginning of the year, and our collections are on track with what we expect to be this year. Similarly, as to business licenses, animal licenses is sitting at 70%. We do primarily collect most of the revenue at the beginning of the year and is progressing as anticipated. Property tax revenue is currently sitting at 0%. Obviously, we don't recognize it yet until June 30th, so it will be recorded in the second quarter. Sale of land is sitting at 15%. We have sold one full lot to date, with 2 others closing after March 31st. And that figure does also include some of the deposits that we received from the lot sale. And we are sitting at 52% for other revenue from owned sources. This is primarily made up of accounts receivable penalties. We'll move to expenses. So we are seeing a 20% budget expense compared to that 25% measurable for the first quarter. This is 3% more than we saw at that time, but that's not too much of a concern. Salaries are sitting at 21%, so we really like to track that benchmark with that 25% marking. So we have no concerns at this time. Membership fees are currently sitting at 50%. Most of those membership fees are paid in that first quarter, so we do have that higher earlier expenditures. Similar with telecommunications, so this is sitting at 35%, and while this does cover our monthly telephone and internet charges, we do pay some of our fees, like our fire dispatch fees, which we pay in a lump sum at the beginning of the year. Grants to others is sitting at 47%. This is primarily made up of the library requisition being paid out early in the year. Planning services at 36%. This includes costs associated with some preliminary designs for the 50th Street outdoor space. And insurance is sitting at 105%. So we do pay the entirety of our premiums at the beginning of the year, with adding in additional costs every time we buy a piece of equipment throughout the year. So we did experience pretty much a 10% increase, $25,000 increase for 2025 this year. Land purchase is at 126. So this is overages just due to realtor commissions and any legal fees or other things related to land sales, including any lot draw expenses that we may have had. Gas utilities are at 39%. So gas is typically higher during the winter months across all town facilities, resulting in heavier first quarter spending. We have noticed that some of the other charges apart from the gas costs have increased drastically this year. So throughout this year and prior to budget, we will undertake to do a complete review of all those to make sure that we're in line. 2025 does mark the second year that the town is tracking councillor professional development expenses as a separate kind of category. And these expenses will continue to be reported alongside quarterly financial statements. So these are just up until March 31st, so there may still be certain things that are not included in these numbers. And then the attached, so this is the income statement by department, so we have the revenue, and then on the next page is the expenses, what we've budgeted, what our actual is, and then what the balance we have left. And then the following page is our summary income statement, so this is kind of by type. This is where we can look into property taxes or a certain type of cost. And then we do have our capital budget, our actuals for current. So is there any one of these documents that you'd like to drill in, ask any questions, get any updates on?
I have a question, Director Vickers, and the gas utilities are at 40% after the first quarter. Usage rates?
So our rate is quite low. We have a quite good rate for our gas currently. So we do have to undertake a review. It's likely around transmission and some of those administration charges, so we're going to do a review of those.
Okay. And then insurance, I know we spoke one time, and I can't remember if it was a motion or just during budget, kind of having an insurance review.
Yes, so we're still kind of undertaking what that looks like,
Okay.
what kind of philosophy we need to have about insurance and about
Okay.
how much insurance we carry, kind of thing.
Because if I recall in budget, like
Yeah.
you'd added whatever, 10, and now we're above that again, so.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Nothing?
I'll just do one update for the council chambers project that will be starting early next week. Right after the council meeting, they'll come in on Tuesday and they'll start doing the renovation for both the IT equipment as well as the desks over the next couple of weeks after that, so.
So when you talk about the gas and the transmission charges, et cetera, will you bring that information back?
Yes, yeah,
And,
that will be a report to council, and that would determine if we're still accurately being budget, or if some of those other charges are increasing too much, not just the gas charges, right?
Okay.
So,
Are you able to maybe bring us a graph of like the transmission charges as an example for the last 5 years?
absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bates.
Well, and I guess the other thing that we'll experience, which we spoke to when we reduced the tax increase, was the carbon tax that shouldn't be there. Of course, that would have happened just at the end of this period.
Yes, Mayor Barclay through to
So
Councillor
we
Bates.
should start to see that.
That hasn't happened
Yeah.
yet in
Right.
these statements. I believe it's April 1st or May 1st that it finally fell off, yeah.
Yeah, and I think when we did that, at least my thinking at the time was we didn't knock it down more than a quarter, even though we knew we would have spent more in the winter than we would have for both fuel and gas.
That's
like,
correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. If there's nothing else, I'll just have somebody please make the motion. Councillor Wing.
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. I would move that council approve the first quarter financials as presented.
Perfect. All in favor? Okay, carried. All right, and then we will move into 3.4 and the annual report with Director Vickers.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Barclay. Administration is pleased to share with council that the Town of Innisfail's 2024 annual report is now complete and has been published on our website. So this year's report, just like the last couple of years, do highlight the town's strategic priorities, significant capital investments, and operational achievements throughout 2024. It reflects the ongoing commitment of council and administration to building a connected, resilient, and forward-thinking community. It does include updates on infrastructure, protective services, utilities, and more. It also features key accomplishments such as the launch of new initiatives, development permit growth, and recognition of our efforts in sustainability and community wellness. So we have put this report on our website, and I just want to, thank all of our staff who contributed to the preparation for this year's report. It is a strong reflection of the progress that we've made together this year, and so I just urge you all to have a look at it and review it whenever you can. We have sent out a request for it to be printed, and the formal printed copies will be here or sometime next week. So,
No, thank you for that, and you're right, thanks to everybody who participated in this, and I also want to give a big shout out and thank you to the tribute to Councillor Harrison and Pat Newman. That's a really nice touch, so appreciate that very much. Does anybody have any questions about the report? group today. If not, just have somebody please make a motion. Councillor Dunham,
Mayor Barclay, I'll move that we accept the annual report as information.
perfect, all in favor? All right, carried. Then we'll move into correspondence. There's a couple there, a golf tournament, Mountain View Regional Water Services. Are you going, Councillor Bates?
Yeah, I usually do. To give a little context to that, I think I've said it before, and certainly administration should consider some people going to that because it's not golf. The last thing they really do is golf. They literally, it's a chance to interact with some utility type people in other towns on the commission. Literally, the golf is the exercise of going around the golf course and making up your score because you can hit it as many times as you want or do whatever you want. So it's that potential to interact with other communities. So just thought I'd put that out there.
Okay, thank you. I see a bunch of interested people now. There's our CMP crime stats. Anybody have any questions? If not, we'll just have a motion to accept the correspondence as information, please.
I'll make that motion, Mayor Barclay.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Messaros. All in favor? Carried. And then we'll just do a round table with Councillor Dunham.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I will be submitting my report on Thursday for Council C this week. All I have coming up is Pride on Saturday.
Okay,
Hope to
thank
see
you.
everybody there.
You will. Okay. Councillor Wing?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. Yeah, I will be submitting my report as well. I did attend the Alberta Muni's Spring Leaders Caucus last week in Drumheller, so I will make note of that in my remarks or my report. It was a good day, lots of good information. And I'm sure Councillor Bates will probably mention this as well, but there is actually a survey from the Government of Alberta relative to the Water Act. The deadline is June the 30th, and we are being encouraged, and we are encouraging everybody to please take some time and log into that survey. It's important. It's not an easy survey to do. It's pretty technical, but it's important that we provide our feedback. So that was one of the highlights coming back from that meeting. And then this week, I'll be attending the Parkland Library Executive Committee meeting on Thursday.
Okay, thank you. So that survey, is that to be completed by a municipality or by a whole bunch of different people?
Anybody that wants to participate, so as many people and residents, it is a public survey.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Councillor Bates.
Is this as a follow-up to that, or is this?
No, I'm
because
going
it's my
down the
turn?
list. I'm following the list.
So I was going to just comment on that survey. I did it, and it's extremely difficult, even if you're quite knowledgeable. The government has put it out as a thing for citizens to do, and I think I saw in Mount View News that Olds is encouraging all of its citizens to do it. But what I see when I read between the lines, they're talking about, the questions would be like, what is your opinion if the Water Act is changed to reflect this and that and the other thing? So I was talking to Councillor Wing, and I think RDR Mug should probably get a hold of the government directly and say, over and above the survey, we would like to have a position on this as RDR Mug, because I do believe they're the right group to reflect the municipality's position. And yeah, like they're talking inter-basin transfers and all kinds of things.
So can I-
Management of stormwater ponds, and
Can I ask you, Councillor Bates, is this a survey that's been out for a while, or is this another
I
one?
believe it's a different one.
Okay, because I did one.
The
before.
first one
Okay.
was asking those questions. Now they're framing it around changing the Water Act. So the concern I have is that if the uninformed fill it out, they could very easily say, yeah, that sounds good, and not be deep thinking about what some of those changes could
So
be.
it needs to be in by the 30th?
Yep.
So I'm wondering, Director Vickers, we have the other one to go through. Maybe we should do that as well. I mean, then we can all fill it out individually, but to kind of go through it and understand it all next week,
It's hard. Trust me.
just like school. Okay.
So for the roundtable, yeah, I will do a report next week as well. While I'm on the water, the other thing that I'll just mention is it did come out in our meeting last week that the snowpack didn't achieve what it usually does. In fact, it barely made one of the stations we monitor barely made the lower quartile, and the other one didn't. And most of that is melted now, so we're depending on the rains. And it's kind of unusual to us that the province focused so much last year on drought, and yet they haven't really said anything yet. And so, and it could be the rains that we're having right now will just make that whole concern irrelevant, but a little bit of a surprise to us. Yeah, I was going to talk about the June 30th. The other thing that I wanted to mention, I enjoyed thoroughly the parade, and reflecting at home afterwards, though, I felt the need to apologize to both council and administration, because I remember last year we had a discussion about following the rule of not throwing candy, and I didn't do a really good job of following that rule on Saturday. So I wanted to a sincere apology for that, because we should follow the rules for sure. And I don't mean this in a light way. I truly feel that. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Expelled. Okay. Councillor Messaros.
Thank you. Just to add to that, then, Councillor Bates, you should also apologize to me for being a bad influence. So this week I've got MPC on Tuesday, and then we've got the chamber meeting on Thursday evening. And I'll have my report in this week as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, thanks to all the town staff who got the float ready and got us parade ready, so it was a lot of fun as usual. Also just want to take a moment and say congratulations to Wendy Evans, a geriatric assessment nurse at the Innisfail Medical Clinic. So Wendy was presented with the Vivian Lai Changemaker Award for Innovation in Community, Social and Health Services Integration last Thursday in Edmonton. These awards were developed as part of the work undertaken by the Alberta Association of Gerontology. So pretty big deal to get that award, so congratulations to Wendy. So we'll move on to upcoming events. I'll just have a motion, please, to accept the upcoming events as information. Councillor Messaros.
Thank you. I'll make that motion.
Perfect. All in favor? Carried. And then we'll just have I guess I'll just adjourn at 3:30.